Hi, everyone, and welcome to She Plays the podcast. I am super stoked to be joined today by Emily and Leslie of Gal Pal Sports. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to chat. I know we've gotten to know each other over the last few months. We did the trendies together, but I just think that your voice and what you guys put out is so unique and awesome. So I'm glad to have you on.
Oh, we're entirely flattered. So much we're uncomfortable, but it's good.
Well, tell folks who maybe are not on Twitter or have not heard of Gal Pal Sports, what exactly is Gal Pal Sports?
I'm gonna let you take a run at it first.
Oh, I see. My lovely fiance is looking at me to handle this. I mean, we're pretty much a place. Emily hates when I use the word place, but I'm gonna say place. But we're a place to have fun, chatting about women's sports and
Sports in general. We make videos. We run a couple of social accounts. But yeah, the general idea is we didn't have a space where we could, have beers and talk about sports like men get to have about men's sports. And so we said, all right, we'll make one.
Awesome. And folks came flocking because we want that space, right? We want it.
Exactly. I think there's definitely a thirst for it.
I'd say there's definitely a desire for it.
Yeah, there's space. There's, women's sports most often feel like they are inspirational or
dare to be.
Yeah, or like a story of conquering or overcoming things, and we're like, nah, we just want to play sports. Like
let's talk about the sports happening.
Yeah, let's have some banter.
Let's make some jokes.
Yeah,
absolutely. And dare I say, be critical when people aren't playing well, right? Like let's actually talk about it.
There is a thing that tends to happen, I think, in women's sports, where it's kind of like, no, let's gloss over the things that deserve a bit of criticism, and let's kind of focus the camera over to the kids holding hands with the grown-ups.
Yeah, the toxic positivity, I think, is the term I've heard describe it, and I don't know that that's exactly right for women's sports, but it definitely filters in. And I think if you love something, you have to love the bad parts too and address them and talk about them. So ignoring them won't get us anywhere. So let's talk about them. Let's make fun of them.
Absolutely. And that shift away from this is for the family to no, adults like watching this, and we get really into it, right? And it's not just, like you said, for the kids holding hands in the stands, as we've all seen that on the old school streams of leagues we know and love, but we won't call them out here. But anyway, yeah, it's I think what the humor that you bring is so amazing. You do make these awesome videos. I'm curious what both of your favorites are that you've done.
Oh, I think my current favorite, I'm sure it changes, is the sky blue office one, because that one you thought of, and you wrote in a day. We filmed it like the next day, and I edited it in like a few hours, and it was both like it just clicked in terms of concept, but also was kind of a sign, I think, that we'd figured out our process a little bit, or the best of it.
We kind of, I feel like we figured out how to streamline things.
Yeah.
In that video. It's hard to say I have a favorite one. I love all my children equally.
Yeah.
It feels nice to like.
I do not.
The Office Sky Blue one was a lot of fun. That like just alter ego version of Elise Lahue is fun to play with.
It is. I'd say the other one is maybe the helpline.
Which helpline?
With when we got to team up with many of our journalist friends.
Yes.
And that was just fun from a collaborative standpoint.
Yeah. That was one where it's just like we sent out a couple of DMs on Twitter and was just like, please say yes, but I get it if you don't say yes, but it would be so awesome if you do say yes, and they did.
Yeah, they did, Nick. it was so much fun to edit.
Oh, I bet. And I mean, don't you find that that defines somewhat of the space of people in media, whatever form it takes? But in the women's sports realm, I do feel like there's this beautiful aura of collaboration.
Absolutely. And I
For
think
sure.
embracing that has been fun. And that's kind of been one of our goals for this year, is to actually meet people and talk to folks more.
A little tough given the
Given
the
things.
circumstances.
But even setting up time just to talk with people who we've talked to on Twitter for months and years sometimes at this point. It was just like putting faces with names and personalities that come out over video is really fun. But the women's sports environment is still small, and people are still accessible and reachable, and it's really fun to get to play with that and see enthusiasm come across when you get folks like Andre filming for a sketch, and you get to know them a little bit just through that.
Between his like 7 podcasts, he found the time to film.
What a good one.
It is amazing. And if you just like, make the ask or send the DM, you never know who's going to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a big one for me, because I have all the anxiety of asking people to just be like, hey, please. and the people in the women's sports community are just so lovely and wonderful and giving of their time, and that they'll be like, yes, of course, this sounds like fun, I would love to do that.
And even when people can't, they're very nice about it. Is the best part. And they're like, get me next time. And we're like, okay, we'll be back.
Yeah, I love that. So who would be like a dream collaboration?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Let's go like player dream collab and then non-player dream collab.
Okay.
I feel like dream collab makes me think more in the player space, because we haven't really ventured in there.
No, that one scares me.
Yeah.
I would love to do just like a lesbian double date show.
Awesome.
Where either, they don't have to be gay, but that makes it extra fun. But like get couples and their partners. So obviously top tier is Sue and Megan would be.
That's when we work up to.
Yeah, that's the top of the ladder, and I'm afraid of heights right now. But and then I think non athlete, I think, has to be Katie Nolan for me.
Okay.
We've been a fan for a long time, but also just we have weirdly similar brains, and so if we could pit them against each other in a game of any sort, I would like to see how that contest turns out. I don't know.
That would be epic.
That'd be pretty good.
What about you?
I don't know.
Other athletes.
I want to think like outside of soccer, because like we do.
There are other sports.
Well, let me tell you. Like Hillary Knight would be cool. Blake Bolden would be cool.
That's very
but
cool.
She's busy.
Yeah.
Scouting for the LA Kings. Outside of sports, I want to say pass.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's a
medium. Thinking is not a.
Oh, it's true. It's still COVID times. I still say everything. I blame everything on COVID. Oh, I can't think straight.
True.
It's COVID. So tell us a little bit about how Gal Pal Sports began, because I believe it was on a trip to go to the World Cup, right? Or is that where like maybe the desire came about?
That I would say the trip to France was definitely a major catalyst for setting things in motion for us. But I'd say that the idea for it probably came during dating.
Yeah, definitely.
We had a period of time where we were dating long distance. I was in LA and Emily was in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And we went to a lot of sports games as like our thing whenever I went up to visit her. We'd go to a baseball game, we'd go to a hockey game, and
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those ideas we kicked around of like, women like sports.
Yeah.
Women like talking about sports.
We at least like talking about sports. And so maybe if we do this just for us as like a creative outlet, that's great. Leslie has a background in acting and comedy, and then I've worked in production before. So the two kind of made sense together of like, how can I enable you to be funny more often, even if it's just for my own entertainment? And then we ended up, I think, in just a silly chat at one point. We moved in together just before the World Cup, right?
A couple months before.
Yeah. And there's a lot of banter back and forth in our house of silly sports things, but we were both learning French or trying to via Duolingo, which led to a lot of bad Americans in France impressions, namely like je m'appelle Emily, and this is my girlfriend, je m'appelle Leslie, which is entirely incorrect if you know anything about French. But, and then you add a terrible accent on top of it. And then our first, I think, character was born, and then it just evolved from there.
Yeah. And I think we ended up taking that to France and doing the tiniest of shoots in front of the Fox studio that was set up in front of the Eiffel Tower on an off day, and yeah, the rest, as they say, c'est l'histoire.
One of us has continued with Duolingo, and the other has
No,
not.
it's a line from Orphan Black. It's fine.
Props to you though for even trying to learn the lingo, because lots of Americans would not. So there you go.
We tried. One of us did better than the other.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of us was able to purchase things in a shop, and the other.
There's, I mean, that's a very basic level in Duolingo where you buy the croissant in. So I mean,
I still
nailed that one down.
I will say that the one time I went with my family, my mom, who took French in high school, but it had been a while, she was trying to find Hunchback of Notre Dame in a book, like an old bookstore, and just kept being like, trying to charades it out. Amazing. Amazing. So props to y'all. So what was the World Cup like? I mean, I've heard over and over again, and I really want to go to Australia and New Zealand, but what was your experience like?
Amazing.
It was pretty great. It was a long trip. We're
very long, because we were in LA, so the trip over was a long one.
Yep.
That was like a day of travel.
Oh, there's a lamp there. But there's I have some friends from England who we met over there actually, and so we started our trip in Nice, and doubled with some beach time. Oh darn, in the south of France. Was so terrible. But we actually landed one morning in Paris, flew down to Nice, and then went to Japan, England that night.
Yes.
Wow.
We don't remember most of that game.
So tired.
Can only imagine.
I'm fairly sure I fell asleep halfway through the second half. I was not functioning.
It was rough.
It was
just a case study in trying to stay awake and just be like, this is once in every 4 years soccer happening. Stay awake, stay alive. Here we go.
The shuttle back was probably the hardest part, but after that, the trip was fairly smooth sailing. We saw one more game in Nice or two.
We saw one more, two more. One of them was a playoff game. I don't know if there was another one. But the playoff game was Norway and Australia, and that was when Australia lost in penalties.
Yeah, and
Sam Kerr skied one, and it was like, what?
And she was under that pressure at the time of like not necessarily being able to deliver in big moments, and it was kind of a big talk. And so when it was just kind of heartbreaking, and it was so hard to watch in that moment of just like, oh, buddy, we really wanted this for you, even if Australia didn't go any further. We just wanted you to come through in that moment, and it just didn't work out.
And then our natural planned itinerary took us to Paris, in which we didn't really plan on seeing more games, but we ended up getting tickets to the USA Spain game in Reims. We managed to get train tickets up, but we did not get train tickets back.
And we decided to go anyway. And there were varying levels of breakdown of like, do we do it? Do we not do it? And I was like, we're doing it.
Yeah,
we have to.
We're doing it.
The very least, we spend the night in a French train station and get a ride back the next morning, and it's a good story. You were a little less sure, but trusted me.
I trusted you. I was just in my levels of, oh my God, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I am excited. I'm scared. I'm mostly scared. I'm in a place where I don't know anyone except for you, whom I love,
but very much doesn't speak French and can't help you.
Yeah.
But amazingly, actually, through the magic of women's sports social media, we ended up getting a ride back on a bus to Paris with a club soccer team that was based in Orange County, California, and they're like parents, and they were at the game, had extra seats. We're like, for $20, yeah, well, like, you guys can get on, and we were like, okay, great, and it all worked out. We got back. I think we got back just as fast as if we had taken the train, if not faster.
I think it worked out to be about the same time.
It
was just a miracle of sport.
That's amazing.
It was crazy, but it was really cool. And then the next leg isn't less weird. We actually had tickets to go to the semifinal.
Well, we didn't have them.
Oh.
We
had a lead.
We
on
had
tickets.
a friend of a friend from college like came into my DMs on Instagram and was like, hey, you're in Paris. She has 2 extra tickets to the game in Paris on Friday. Do you want them? And we're just like, oh yeah.
So then we were staying right near the stadium, like
wow.
walkable to the stadium. It would have been it was perfect. Could have booked another night at the hotel with just like points or something crazy. But we called the airline, and because the way we booked our tickets, this would have been like a middle flight. We had a flight scheduled actually to go to London just after this. If we canceled that ticket, we would have canceled our flight home.
Oh.
So we couldn't take them up on it. And so we didn't get to go. And we ended up watching from a bar in London.
Yeah. Lady on the phone was really nice, though.
That was
that's good.
The airline representative was very kind. She was like, I'm very sorry.
She tried all the ways.
She did. And then we went to see the Yankees and the Red Sox play at West Ham Stadium.
Wow.
Their summer series, because we're like, we're here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That was an insane day. And by the end of it, we were destroyed, I think.
Yeah, we were a bit traveled out, and we never thought it would end like this. No traveling whatsoever.
Yep. And then we went home, back to LA, and watched the final from a bar in Santa Monica. Yeah.
Bars. Remember those? And like watching sports in groups.
I do miss watching sports at bars. I don't miss getting up at 4:30 a.m. to watch Premier League games on the West Coast.
Yeah, I will say that part's better.
That was rough, but a beer and a coffee at 7 a.m. is.
Oh wait, no. The final we watched at home because we had those extra bottles of. We had those extra bottles of champagne because we thought we would have people over, and then we remembered that the game was at 8 a.m.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous.
So it was just us and a bunch of champagne. Yep.
There you go. That sounds like a great final and a victory,
It was.
Yeah.
That's amazing though. I mean, and kudos to you. I mean, you really got there and you just went all out, it sounds like.
We tried. I think, work tends to keep us pretty busy. We had never taken a big trip together before. So we said, while we're at it, let's make the most of it. And we did. And it's, France has continued as a theme probably in our relationship to some extent.
There you go. Are any plans to go to another World Cup, whether it's soccer or, I mean, I know FIBA has them
Oh,
for
yeah.
basketball as well.
I don't think FIBA's on our calendar yet, but I do have a minor, like, my version of a bucket list is that I want to go to all the major sporting event finals.
Awesome.
I haven't formalized this yet, but so far I've been to Wimbledon and I've been to a World Cup, and that seems like a pretty good start.
Yeah.
The next World Cup, though, we definitely want to go to, and either making content or just for fun. We've got some friends in Australia that I plan on crashing with, and I happen to work with quite a few Australians. So I think that the world is preparing me I'll handle speaking Australian.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Duolingo on that one's pretty simple. You never know. You never know.
I don't know. They got some words.
They do have some words.
I'll also handle the spiders.
I don't know about that.
You don't know if I will?
I feel like your idea of handling those spiders will be trying to find a glass big enough to get on top of it and let it outside. And I don't know if they're big enough ones.
Some are like that big. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those ones I run away from because burn the house down, whatever it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Those we don't.
Well, let's hope maybe we could all get together in New Zealand and have Jacinda. I forget how to pronounce her name. I'm really, I'm hoping she's active and present over in New Zealand for World Cup times.
We need, at least a watch party.
I think we're all fangirling over her right now. She's just amazing.
Incredible.
So I would love to chat about, just real quick before I let you guys go, just what you have found, like after starting this and getting into it, what have you found that you really enjoy about what you do and what you bring to the table? And then what do you hope continues to change or grow for the world of women's sports? Just softball questions.
Just like really light, fluffy cotton balls. I like when I like when anytime it's something that like resonates with other people, because otherwise I feel like I'm just like talking to myself over here, and occasionally I'll poke my head in her office and just be like, hey, is this the thing that makes sense?
Keeping in mind, Leslie didn't start watching women's soccer until 3 to 4 years ago.
Like NWSL soccer until very recently.
And embraced the culture so quickly and seemed to understand it very quickly. And
well, it surprised me how similar it was to the NWHL. And I feel like those two communities have a lot to learn from each other. That's what I think I'm looking forward to.
Seeing that growth.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've just enjoyed having a creative outlet. And it's funny that throughout the past year, we've been inside a lot and working together to some extent.
Yeah.
And if anything, I like you more, which is, incredible. But I rarely find that in anyone. But, having a creative outlet and getting to try to make her vision when she writes something come true via editing is really fun for me, and seeing what I can add to that is great. But also like that ability to shine a light on some of the negatives and say, hey, we can be better. And repeatedly remind ourselves that our goal is not necessarily to be like men's sports. And it might be in some ways in terms of infrastructure and resources. But in terms of culture, we actually already have a really cool thing. And how do we keep that growing? And I think what I'm most interested in seeing is how that transforms or doesn't transform as all this new money and new ownership groups come into leagues and really embrace it, because I think women's sports is taken off. And we're kind of here for the launch, and
and we're starting to see like some little teeny fragile spots happen, and it's kind of like a buckle up.
I think there's going to be a lot to talk about over the next few years, and it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Well, where can folks find Gal Pal Sports and follow and stay up to date on what you're putting out?
Probably the central place is Twitter. We're at Galpal Sports. Same on Instagram, same on TikTok, which we're trying. We feel too old, but
We're
it's
giving
fun.
it a go.
We're giving it a go. And then we've got a YouTube channel which doesn't have a convenient URL, unfortunately, but you can find it via our Twitter.
Search, but if you search Galpal Sports, we'll
be
come
there.
up.
Yep.
Absolutely. And we'll put all those in the show notes as well. So just thanks so much for coming on. Again, like I know I'm personally a fan, but I know just so much of the community loves interacting with you on Twitter, loves like in game interacting with you, whether it is hockey or soccer or whatever is happening. So keep up the good work, because it is making a difference. And I feel like it really is letting people in on the culture who are maybe new and just tuning in. So props to you both.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things is we get to learn about a lot of this together too. And as much as we can showcase that, like our learnings as we go too, we can bring other folks with us, and hopefully folks that didn't get to play when they were kids or didn't feel like sports were for them, they maybe feel like they got someone to hang out with during a game, and that's all we want.
It's important especially until we can all meet again in person,
Right.
Exactly.
Oh,
Well, thanks again so much for your time.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.